Now, as this event moves forward, we're seeing a lot of the deep state players, the mainstream media, they are being exposed for almost everything right now. People are waking up. When you remove the noise, when you remove the everyday distractions, people can see clearly now. People are more awake. And I do believe this is the Great Awakening. And we need to adjust our expectations because a lot of us, we do it all the time. We expect things to happen or play out in a certain way. Now, what we've been doing here is we've been interpreting what Q has been saying. We're following this storyline, this plan. We're following the show. And it doesn't mean that things are going to happen exactly on this day or exactly on that day, but they will happen. We've seen it in the past. Q has told us that Trump, he was insulated from being impeached. The Senate was the key. What happened? Trump was not impeached. The Senate was the key. And there was a reason why they chose the Senate as the firewall. They wanted the House, the Dems, all those individuals exposed during this whole process. There's a reason why we have the plan laid out the way it's laid out. It's not just about arresting. It's not just about throwing people in jail. It's about waking the people up, letting them see firsthand, because the only way to convince people is to let them see for themselves what's really going on. You need to show them. And remember, we also have the central bank, we have the economy, we have many other things. There's a lot of things associated to this plan. So what we're watching right now is, I do believe, a silent running mission to remove the power structure. I do believe the purpose of all of this is to expose the mainstream media, expose how they took this event and they upped it 100 times to make this crisis, to spread fear, panic, and everything else you want to throw in there. It was also to expose those individuals in Congress, because if this was a global pandemic and people are dying everywhere, they would have had a 5 to 10 page bill that just went to the people. Instead, they were throwing everything else in there, even the kitchen sink. This was about exposing all of these individuals and trying to get certain individuals to flip at the same time. So remember, adjust expectations, actually just remove them. Just enjoy the show. Let's review what's going on, follow the plan, and see how this all turns out, because I do believe the operation is moving forward, because there are many players right now that are panicking and it's accelerating. Now, very interestingly, Seth Rich is coming back into focus. And we know that we've been going back in time and looking at the plan, looking at the posts, because we know that the dates and what Q was saying didn't really mean it was happening at that time. I believe that the past is going to prove the future. And we are watching this unfold in real time. Now, Seth Rich has now come back into focus. And Major Patriot tweeted this out. Attorney requests all documents related to Seth Rich from FBI after new testimony from former Department of Justice Assistant U.S. Attorney discloses the FBI did examine Seth Rich's computer. Now, we know that as we move forward, if we go back to 2018, there are posts that relate to certain things that are going to happen. Just like when we saw the censorship come down with Google and you're able to see all of the Ray Chandler pictures and everything like that, I do believe all of this is being done on purpose, and we're following the story from the post from 2 years ago. So if we look at April 19th, 2018, this is post 1195. Yes, we haven't hit it yet, April 19th, but it is coming up. We're moving into April. And Anon says, when we will find out about Seth Rich and Las Vegas? Q answered, Seth Rich connect to DNC. MS-13, Julian Assange, who is now being tried to see if the U.S. can extradite him back to the U.S., which I do believe this will happen. I do believe he's the source. And it says, why did the D's push legal rep on family? And then it says June ETA. Now, back then, everyone thought June ETA was going to be that June. Now, remember, Q just can't come out and tell us when all these things are going to happen. Q has to give us the information, and we have to figure it out because the deep state and everyone else is looking at this. So now, if we look at this today, this April 2018 post, it's starting to make a little bit more sense. Patriots are in complete control. Julian Assange right now is being extradited back to the U.S. He's on trial for that. We also have an attorney that's requesting all the documents to Seth Rich, because now we come to find out that they do have some information. So everything is changing. And what's very interesting is that since Trump signed the Defense Production Act and activated it, we know that he can control the economy. He can control manufacturers. He can say, oh, this is critical infrastructure. And within this, Trump has declared gun stores critical. So this is very interesting because right now he knows he needs to protect the Second Amendment, because the deep state has been trying to remove the Second Amendment, which they really can't. And they've been trying to remove the weapons from the people. And through this Defense Production Act, he has now said and declared that gun stores are critical to the infrastructure. So this is very interesting. Now, we know that this entire event is moving along. The mainstream media, they're pushing fear, panic, and they're trying to create chaos. There are certain corrupt politicians that are trying to do the same. We know that certain individuals have been hoarding medical supplies, and this is being done on purpose, just like Puerto Rico. When we found this gigantic warehouse of all the supplies, they're doing the same thing here to create panic and chaos. And we know that there are certain individuals, deep state players, who are getting the virus, and we also have others who are putting themselves into quarantine to be out of the way when everything goes down. Now, what's very interesting is every day we get more and more individuals that are turning up who have it, and these are part of the deep state. And we're starting to get word now that Placido Domingo has coronavirus. He's in Mexico. Now remember, he was brought up on charges for sexual harassment. And it seems that those charges are now credible. And there are certain individuals that say, yes, he engaged in inappropriate activity, ranging from flirtation to sexual advances, in and out of the workplace. And just like when Q tells us to track those CEOs that are resigning and things like that, I do believe that we need to start tracking who's coming down with the coronavirus and putting together a list of who is getting it, who is part of the deep state, who's part of Hollywood, who's part of all of this. Now, very interestingly, the mainstream media has been caught again. On CBS, they were showing footage of a hospital, and they put the title that below the video that this was in New York. But really what they did was they took the video from Italy and they used that to show that here's America's epicenter. New York now accounts for more than half of new U.S. cases, and they showed the hospital in Italy. And what did CBS try to do? They tried to paint a dire picture from New York City by doing this. And again, this is fake, phony, and false. Now, Trump came out and his 15-day social distancing guidelines, that expired today, Monday. So he came out and he extended the guidelines to April 30th, 2020. Dan Scavino Jr. tweeted this out. President @ Donald Trump will be extending the national social distancing guidelines through April 30th, 2020. More information and details will be rolled out on Tuesday, March 31st. Now, does this mean, the entire mission is done? No. All he did was say, okay, I'm going to extend this to the end of April, which he can automatically say, you know something? We now have control over the coronavirus, and we don't have to extend it to April 30th anymore. And what's very interesting is that we've said this in the beginning. How do you shut down fear, panic, and chaos with a snap of a finger? Well, you introduce a cure. What did Trump do in the very beginning? He introduced the cure, hydroxychloroquine, and with other drugs. And he said, this is going to be a game changer. This is is going to be something that we're going to need. Now, what did the mainstream media do? They started making up stories. Oh, this person died from it, but they didn't die from hydroxychloroquine because that's prescribed by a doctor. They took chloroquine phosphate, which is used for fish that have infections, and they died from that. So that story had nothing to do with what Trump was talking about. Then they said, well, if you take too much, you're going to overdose from this drug, which is absolutely ridiculous. And Don Jr. came out and said, okay, if I drink or take anything in large quantities, I'm going to overdose or get sick or something like that. So that is another ridiculous story. I mean, do they really think people are that stupid? It's like, okay, it's safe to drink alcohol, so someone goes in and drinks isopropyl alcohol that you have in your cabinet? No. People know that that's not what you use. The mainstream media, they are just trying everything and anything. So already we're in the next phase. So Trump mentioned hydroxychloroquine. Now the FDA has come out, and the FDA gives emergency approval to use anti-malaria drugs to fight coronavirus. So the Food and Drug Administration, they are giving doctors emergency permission to use the drug. Remember, he's building this up. This is all coming out now because how do you remove panic, fear, chaos? If people hear that there's a cure and the FDA is approving it, and every doctor can now prescribe it, what happens to fear, panic, and chaos? It dies down. Now, is the mainstream media and the deep state going to want this to happen? No. Look what the Washington Post put out. This is their headline. FDA authorizes the widespread use of unproven drugs to treat coronavirus, saying the possible benefit outweighs risks. Now, are they trying to scare people away from the drug? Of course they are. Are they trying to make it seem like there's a lot of risks to it? Of course they are. They're trying to push their narrative, but it is failing. Actually, Dr. Vladimir Zelenko, he has been treating patients with hydroxychloroquine and other medication, and he updated everyone on his treatment. Now, he went from 250 to 350 to 699 patients with COVID-19. And he's a New York doctor. He's board certified. And his latest study has shown that out of his 699 patients, 0 patients died, 0 patients intubated, and 4 hospitalizations. And everyone is recovering. Incredible results. Actually, Trump is right. This is a game changer. So think about it. During a crisis, how do you expose the deep state plan? How do you show the deep state was hoarding to create panic, fear, and chaos? How do you show the mainstream media is pushing fear, reporting fake news? You never interfere with the enemy while he's in the process of destroying themselves. What has Trump done so far? He's letting the mainstream media continually report fear, panic, chaos. He had A.G. Barr come out and say, those people that are hoarding, we're coming after you. Then all of a sudden, we found millions of N95 masks. All of a sudden, there's a warehouse with 1,000 ventilators. Cuomo was put on the spot. They were asking him questions. And he says, oh, yeah, we knew about that. We didn't need them yet. But the other day, he said that they're running short of ventilators. We need more of them. So he got caught up in a lie, and he's panicking. Trump is exposing all of this to the public. This is the great awakening for the rest. Now, does this mean that everyone's going to wake up? No. But enough people are going to wake up, and those who are in a very deep sleep, we're going to have to hold their hand through all of this, because they're the ones that are going to have a very difficult time accepting all this, because the hatred and the brainwashing from the mainstream media, it's not easy to snap them out of this. Think about cults. Remember the cults that took individuals, brainwashed them, and then when they were rescued, they had to be deprogrammed, and it was very difficult for many of these individuals to be deprogrammed. The same thing has to happen today. Now, Praying Medic, he tweeted out this: Trump is painting the picture, highlighting the media's dishonesty moves public opinion, a necessary preparation before criminal trials. And he's absolutely right. The deep state, the D's, the mainstream media, they're being exposed. Think about it. Who's removing the rights in states? Who's locking down the states? Is it Trump? No, remember, optics are very important. Governors are doing this. Certain governors are doing this. The Patriots aren't doing this. Trump didn't want to issue an order to lock all of it down. He wanted certain governors exposed and how they're removing your rights. Trump just said, listen, it'd be a good idea if you stayed home. He didn't say you couldn't go out. He said to stop the spread, it's a good idea that you stay home. In certain states, they are stopping people and asking for papers. You've just removed people's rights. And Robert Barnes of Barnes Law, he tweeted this out. I will be filing suits for clients across America against the lawless politicians violating First, Second, Fourth, and Fifth Amendment rights of ordinary Americans. Our founders knew viruses and plagues. They didn't let it exempt our Bill of Rights. And that reminds me of Post 1105. This is April 9th, 2018. Class action lawsuits are very effective. 2 billion people. Global. Scale. Regulation or kill. People have the power to decide. And this is falling right into place. Now we are seeing the deep state players, they are panicking. James Comey yesterday gave us this game, Camel Up, with a pyramid, the top of the pyramid knocked off. This is the camels running, who's going to run next? And then he tweeted out, good day for a walk with a household member. Now the picture is a tunnel of a person walking into the light. Think about that for a second. So Joe M., he looked at this and he tweeted this out. Light at the end of the tunnel. The Oxford Dictionary for Euphemisms mentions taking a walk as a term spies use when they defect. Say at Comey, just where are you walking to exactly? So this is what Joe put up. Take a walk, to leave involuntarily or undo taboo circumstances. In espionage fiction, it means to defect. So in this picture, in this tunnel, this individual is walking towards the light. Go toward the light has been associated loosely, which means to die. So what is Comey trying to say here? And then we had Hillary Clinton. She tweeted this out. The next several weeks may be some of the hardest we've faced as a country. From those in the front lines to those saving lives by staying at home, let's remember to be kind to each other, be patient, and remember the power of our collective humanity, even when we're apart. So what is she really saying here? The next several weeks will be some of the hardest we've faced as a country. Is she talking to others saying that they're coming for us? Because 4 minutes later, Eric Holder tweeted this out. Wisconsin, today is the deadline to register to vote in the state Supreme Court election that happens on April 7th. Judge Jill Karofsky will make an excellent justice. So why did they mention April 7th? What are they worried about? Julian's Rum tweeted this out. Hillary's tweet at 12:07. Then Holder tweets 4 minutes later about Wisconsin Supreme Court elections on April 7th. Seems like they're worried about something on April 7th. Well, on April 7th is World Health Day. And the day marks the founding of the World Health Organization. We know that organization is corrupt. Are they going to be exposed? But then I started to say, something, let's look 2 years ago to April 7th, 2018. And this is post 1071. And this, to me, is amazing. Now, in this post, it says, talking to you anon. We always see it's happening here. The tone, war, April showers. Now, under this, it says, Eric Holder, California. Relevant soon. Q. Then if we move to post 1072, it says, border states are very key, bigger than you can imagine. The pipeline, not R versus D. California is special. Public will learn. Now, that is just very, very interesting because Q has always told us to look at California. California is special. And Eric Holder talked about April 7th. So is something coming? It's starting to seem that way. Then we find out today that at least 5 Congress members have now tested positive for the coronavirus. Representative Nydia M. Velasquez announced that she has presumed coronavirus infection. Now, what's very interesting about this is that she was near Pelosi and other lawmakers last week. Now, once again, we need to track who is getting the coronavirus. I think this is going to be very important because I think some of them are going to use this as an escape. And those who are not, those people, those corrupt politicians and others, they're going to be investigated, and it has already started. Federal law enforcement officials are now investigating a series of stock market transactions that were made by U.S. lawmakers prior to the stock market tanking as a result of the coronavirus. Who are these individuals? Senator Richard Burr, Dianne Feinstein, Senator Kelly Loeffler, Jim Inhofe, and many others. And I do believe that this is going to go further back than just this coronavirus. I believe this is going to open up an incredible investigation to see who has been using insider trading to allow themselves to get very, very wealthy. And Technofog tweeted out something very interesting about Senator Richard Burr. This is what Technofog said. Senator Richard Burr, under inquiry by the feds for his stock sales, has retained counsel. His lawyer is former Department of Justice Assistant AG Alice Fisher. Alice Fisher stopped victim notification letters from going to the young girls Jeffrey Epstein abused. And this is the lawyer that he is using. Very interesting. Sounds like she's bought and paid for. So how do you show the 16-year plan to the American people, to the world? How do you show them that these individuals were preparing to take away our rights and destroy the country? How do you show the world this? You shut it down. You shut it down. You shut down business. You take away all the noise. You take away the distractions. You allow people to start to think logically, to start to question things. Because when you remove the noise, when you remove everything around you, you can start to see clearly. And I've noticed a lot of people are starting to question things. They're starting to go and read what's going on here. They're starting to hear the strange messages. They're starting to say, what is going on here? And they're questioning the mainstream media. They're questioning the corrupt politicians. They're questioning it all. Now, does this mean 100%? No. This means that the majority of the people now are starting to wake up. Yes, there's going to be those few, you might even know them, will have a very difficult time waking up. I know some of them. But it seems that something's changing with them. Because as they listen to Trump every day, even though they don't want to listen, but they want to know what's going on, and they listen to him, they're starting to realize that, oh, maybe he's not that bad. Maybe he is doing this for the people. Now, there's others who are going to say, I don't want to listen. I don't want to even stare at him. I can't take it. You're still going to have those people. That's why those people, we're going to have to guide them through this. But what we're experiencing right now, it is the Great Awakening. And I do believe that people have to be woken up first before you can proceed. Yes, through Q, through the alternative media, we can wake up a certain number of people. But I do believe the patriots wanted the vast majority of people woken up. So this way, they can think clearly as we move forward. They can see what the mainstream media does. They can see what the corrupt politicians have done. And as we move forward, they can proceed with their mission. Now, like I said in the beginning, we have to adjust expectations. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, what we're going to have here right after this is we're going to have all the arrests and we're going to parade them through the streets. Think about how that's going to look. Think about, does that really fit into the plan? Is that logical? Are people going to look at this and say, well, wait a minute. We have this whole event going on with this coronavirus, and now we're parading and arresting people? No. This is why Q has been using silent running tactics. When do you use them? I do believe that you use them now. Is the mainstream media, is the deep state going to try to stop what's happening? Are deep state players making decisions on what they need to do at this point? Yes, I do believe so. But I do believe the plan later on, once you have the awakening, once you have the power removed, the storm continues. It doesn't end. And the next phase of it comes in, where those people that you're looking for to get arrested, they will be brought up on charges. But it has to make sense. It has to fit into the entire narrative. It just can't be sprung upon the people because they don't understand. So information has to come out first, right? You just can't say, hey, by the way, these people are corrupt. Well, what do you mean they're corrupt? You just arrested them? No, you have to bring people up to speed. Now, since you have people woken up, what can you start to do? You can start to release certain evidence, pictures. Censorship is down in Google. People love to search on Google. People believe Google. This is how you get the ball rolling. Because now you're exposing the mainstream media. You're exposing the corrupt politicians. You're seeing how they're pushing fear and panic and chaos. You're seeing that Trump was right, that hydroxychloroquine was a game changer. It did help. He did save the people by going after that drug. This was all planned from the beginning. He's building trust. He's building confidence. Not everyone's going along with it, but a lot of people are right now. The ratings for the mainstream media, they're going down and down and down. Yes, there are still people that are watching it, but it's becoming less and less every single day. And I do believe they're preparing for the flood. Remember, Q keeps telling us about April showers. What month are we heading into? April. Remember Q told us, drip, 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 then the flood?